Hi, welcome to Lightline Fishing. I'm Keith Allen. Hey, I'm going to bring you updates on the tournament. We're not live from Stockton Lake right now. Unfortunately, the weather did not cooperate. We have major storms right now. Same thing happened on the tournament. So we're doing a recap from the house. So, it is what it is. Anyhow, so let's talk about the tournament. The tournament didn't go like we planned. We are in a 175 Tracker TXW that is an aluminum boat, and it's only a 17.5-foot boat. It's a good little fishing boat. There's nothing wrong with it. But I'm not running, a Nitro or a Ranger or one of the big fancy bass boats. So therefore, when high waters, or high waves, we had probably 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, and we were seeing whitecaps on the main lake. So therefore, I didn't get to run down to the river like I wanted to. I'd use Navionics to map out the lake and see the spots that I wanted to fish based on just, knowing the lake pretty well. And I planned on running about 6 miles down. But we had severe storm warnings all day, knowing that the storm was coming. And the way the lake itself started getting white-capped about 9:30, 10 o'clock. So we were pretty fortunate that we didn't do that. So basically my whole pre-fish and plan was just scrapped and thrown out the window. And sometimes you just have to do that. There's nothing you can do about it. But you got to be flexible and want to do that, especially if you're tournament fishing. So basically what we did was we just turned around and went, everybody bonsai, we seen them hauling butt and just getting with it, heading down to the lake, doing their thing. And unfortunately, all we did is went around the corner and started fishing. And it wasn't that big of a deal. At this time of year, you could catch bass anywhere on the lake. And there was guys fishing up by the dam. There were guys fishing down at Sunsack. There were guys filming. I know one guy I was talking to said he went clear to Aldridge, which is great. But we couldn't do that. And we're very blessed that we didn't. It's not worth the risk or the danger of your life, my life, anybody's life to have fun fishing. And that's something everybody needs to remember, is safety is the first thing. Be conscious of the weather. Know what's around you. Know when storms are coming. That's the worst thing that you could do on the water, is be in an aluminum boat with thunder and lightning. That's just a bad, bad thing. So anyhow, we did catch some fish. Right off the bat, I was throwing a spinnerbait, I started off throwing a buzzbait and the whopper plopper. And I fished that for the first probably 20 minutes, but I wasn't seeing any shad or anything busting on top of the water. So there was really not any, I did got no swirls, no bites, no blow-ups, no nothing on the buzzbait or the whopper plopper. And I threw a couple different colors, bone color and black. It was really cloudy. So, it was mostly cloudy, real dark skies, and high winds all day long. So I thought the buzzbait would work, and I was throwing it into cover and open water everywhere, and just nothing. Black and red, black and blue, black with the gold, black on black, just nothing. I was throwing the bone whopper plopper and also the black whopper plopper with the white and nothing. Just no top water bite. So I switched to the spinnerbait, which that's the exact one I was throwing, which is the War Eagle. Not trying to push brands. We don't do that. It's just what I happen to have. I know spinnerbaits work. On this lake, they work certain times of the year. I'm not a big fan of spinnerbaits. That's not a big fan of it. But the thing was, it was the brass blades that was flashing during the cloudy skies that drew the attention. It seems to do better when you have a brass one on there. If I'd had one that had both brass leaves on it instead of just one, I think it would have even done better. But my first hookup was a big one, and got it almost to the boat. I could see it. I knew we had a good 3.5, 4 pounder. I was fired up. I mean, I was losing it because it was like the first fish. We're talking 3 to 4 pounds right off the bat. I'm fired up, baby. Got it right to the boat and gone. I was just I was not happy. So I regained my composure, started going right back. I figured, well, you hit one, get another one. So flipped it right back out there at about 10 more casts and hooked up again and got it right to the boat. Not quite to the boat, but just outside of getting to where we can net it. And same thing, spit it. I started screaming, son of a motor scooter. Oh my God, I was mad. I was so mad at what I'd say that was 7 pounds of fish right there and 2 fish I lost. And I was just mad. So I started looking at it and I realized I wasn't running a swim bait. Oops. I wasn't running a swim bait. I was just running the spinning bait bot on its own, and I should have been throwing with a trailer hook. So I opened up my tackle box and started looking. I had none. 0 trailer hooks that would fit. Other than I had some worm hooks with the bended shank instead of straight shank, but I had none that would work. So I was like, well, it is what it is. I'll just keep throwing them. And part of the problem with the War Eagles is they have a smaller hook. I tend to usually like a bigger hook, and you hook that trailer hook on there and you just run that hook, just a regular hook, shank hook, big shank, run it back in there and it runs right behind it so that you have a trailer hook for when the fish come. You get a double hook, one down in the gullet, and this one here hooking in the lip. Lot better hookup ratios. So that was a good 7 to 8 pounds of fish that I lost there. I mean, I'm a pretty good judge, between half pound or so, and they were good 3.5, 4 pound fish. So I kept fishing the spinnerbait, and it lasted. I hooked up. I brought one caught one, brought it in the boat. It was 14.25. Then I hooked up again, brought it in. It was 14.5. We didn't have video because we're still technically challenged as of right now. So, not having waterproof equipment, I wasn't willing to risk that. So we just got pictures. So I'll be posting them on Facebook. Facebook is the same as this channel, Lightline Fishing on Facebook. Same with Twitter, but it's fish-in. There's no G for the Twitter. So if you want to follow on Twitter, it's Lightline Fishing. And so after about 5 fish, I caught 5 on the spinnerbait, 2 small ones. My wife is my co-partner. She's my co-angler. She was the first one to land a keeper on the boat. She was throwing shaky heads, get snagged up a lot, and switched to the Texas rig. And it was a finesse rig. And I'll show you exact same one she was using. And that's the Texas rig. It was a little finesse worm like this. Little 1/4 ounce bullet weight, straight shank hook on just your cheap little Zoom. It's the watermelon red. And like I said, 1/4 ounce weight with, and it's everything you find, very affordable. This is what she caught her fish on the tournament with. This setup right here. That's it. So, and like I said, maybe $8 worth of tackle, and she could fish the whole tournament with these. This is all she needed. This is what she caught her fish on. So that was what she caught hers on. And kudos to her for getting us started, getting us fired up. And then I switched to the wacky worm. And I only used 2 colors. Bottom line, this type of here, look here, this is it. This one is a green pearl. I think that's what they call it. Watermelon pearl. Excuse me. It's kind of got a toad color to it. So when you look at it, it's a white shad almost on the back, and then it almost looks like a frog. And when it goes through, it looks just like a minnow going through. And then, of course, the old classic, the old watermelon red, stick baits. Everybody knows them. Everybody loves them. Everybody makes them. Just because I use these don't mean nothing. You can buy these, Bass Pros, Strike Kings, all of them work great. There's no specific reason. They just happen to have my colors, and I'm cheap son of a gun. I like to spend as little as money as possible. And when I can get to Bass Pro, they have their bargain bins over there in the bargain cave. You could get them things by the pound. They're the exact same. And in fact, there was a guy I watched on video that compared every one of them. He did the Yamamoto's, Gary Yamamoto's. He did Bass Pros. He did Yum. He did, I forget who else. There was like 3 others he did. And he tank tested each one of them just to see the action, what they do. And actually, the Bass Pro had the most action. Yum was number 2, then Gary Yamamoto. So it doesn't matter which one you use. Don't get hung up on that. It's the 2 colors. In clear water, we were flipping brush, and I think the trees are called birch trees. I may be wrong. I probably should have Googled this and been a little smarter and had my info correct. But they're the white trees that grow here in Missouri, and they're all, they're white with they're white with real pretty leaves on it, but it's smooth instead of smooth bark. I think they're called birch. I may be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But anyhow, those trees, my wife she flipped hers finesse worm in there, and that's where she caught hers. So I turned around and flipped right back in there with the old wacky rig, flipped it up in there, and then I caught one. And we had 2 fish in the boat by 8:30 in the morning, and we were stoked because it's like they were actually biting. We weren't in no kind of game plan. We were just, it was basically put the boat in the water, go around the corner, start fishing, and we were catching fish. Now let me show you how I rig these. You've heard about everybody talking about using the number 1, number 2 mosquito hooks. And they use them with weedless, they use them with not weedless, but they're real small, tiny hooks. I don't do that. I have found, and it's just, I've been doing this for years. I don't know why they use such small hooks, but I use a 4/0 hook. Eagle Claw 4/0 hooks is what I use. That's the ones I use. And the reason I use these is they're a big shank hook. They work great. Now, you can see, if you look, you can see I take it and go down like this right here, and I'll put it right in the center. But if you find the stick bait, I'll move the head. Here's the head. This is the tail. I'll move that right to you can see the edges right here. That right there is the center of the worm. Okay? Then I'll take it and I put it right through the middle of the white. And I stop to where it's right at the bend of the hook. So it's like this. So it's weighted a little bit towards the back. Because when it comes in there, this hook will fall, and it'll fall straight down like this. And this is the color that it will do. So there's your big hook. And you might ask yourself, why do I use such a big hook? It gives it the weight. It gives it the weight that I want. So that is the setup right there. So when it's working, that's it right there. And I'm not taking it out there and I'm not casting it and constantly it's just wiggling in that tip. Wiggling that tip, reeling in the slack. I wiggle that tip, reel in the slack. But it's always on slack line, kind of like you do a shaky head. It's almost identical to shaky head fishing. And that's the way I fished them. And I caught mine on this setup. I love the watermelon red. That's a great color. But this is my go-to color. May, June, and July, this is deadly. At least on Stockton Lake. I know it's deadly on Table Rock. And I also know Lake of the Ozarks, it catches fish. Especially the summertime, you could skip these up under docks. Oh, they're vicious. So anyhow, that's my go-to baits. I love the wacky worm. I fish the devil out of it. That's usually the first one I pick up bright and early in the morning. I'll do a video on some of the knots that I like to tie, but I just kind of pre-did one, so that you get an idea of what it looks like and why. But like I said, it was tough, and it seemed like the fish just shut off at about 9:30. it just, we couldn't get a bite to save our lives. We were flipping everything. I was flipping jigs. I was flipping the wacky worm. I even changed colors. I was throwing about 4 or 5 different colors of wacky worm. Didn't get no bites. It just like it shut off. I think the barometric pressure dropped, and they probably felt since the storm was coming in, because it was going to be a severe one, and it did come. It came a little later, but because of the water conditions being so rough, I mean, there were some guys coming back that I talked to on the tournament, and they said all they could do was idle back, that it was dangerous. One guy had his kid with him fishing. He said, I had my son up in the cuddy cabin, and he was hiding, and they were just getting dumped on, and that they were just idling. And I just wasn't willing to put ourselves in that kind of risk or danger, especially in an aluminum boat. But after we talked, there was about half the boats had 0 or 1 fish. So we had 2, about 3.5 pounds, 3.6, what was it, 3.7 or 3.67 pounds. Helped us move up at a spot. We're 8th in points now, so that's, hey, go us. It just shows we don't suck too bad, but we're not the best either. So it is what it is. But we had a great time, but we were nervous. I was nervous the whole time. My game plan was totally off. Just didn't know what to do, and that happens in the tournaments. It's like, hey, you just got to be willing to scrap everything and just fish. And sometimes you do, you'll luck out. If I hadn't lost those 2 other ones and used my head, 2020, be prepared. I knew I was going to throw spinner baits. May and June are awesome time to throw spinner baits. Watch your conditions. If you're cloudy, throw them brass ones. Cloudy, chrome doesn't work. Use your darker colors. I was using the shad color with a dark trailer on it. With the brass, it tends to, for some reason, what little light is reflected on partly cloudy, it tends to catch their attention better. I just have better luck with it on cloudy conditions. Now, on bright, sunny, clear days, I'll run both of them in chrome, because that's when you want it. But it was real cloudy, so therefore we were running a little darker colors. Come to find out, the ticket was shaky head. And I had the stuff, and in fact, my wife was throwing them, but I had some different ones. And I was talking to a guy that he's fishing with his son in Next Generation, and he's done real well in the past with the shaky heads. And in fact, I think he won one of the tournaments last year using a shaky head, and he was telling us that you just couldn't find a worm big enough. And the setup he showed me was this right here. That's the setup he showed me. He was throwing the watermelon red. That's all he throws. He's like, just find the biggest ones you can find. The trick worm. This was a finesse one. He said he was throwing a finesse this time. And but he was showing the ball head. That ball head right there is the key. Now, we were throwing ones that had like football head. My wife was getting hung up. Like every cast, she was getting snagged and breaking off. She was throwing the other ones that have the flat head. They look kind of round, but they have a real flat, and she was getting hung up on them. She was getting so mad, she was just ready to put her rod and reel down, and then she just started fishing the Texas rig to keep getting from snag. In which flipping bushes, Texas rig is awesome too. I mean, you catch them, and she did, and it was a nice one. It was probably 2.25 pounds, so it was pretty nice. Like I said, my biggest mistake was not having that trailer hook for the spinner bait, and that was my bad. But it happens, and we're not fishing these tournaments to, be the best, or of course we'd like to win, and when we win, hey, it's a blast. But it's fun to just get out there and do it. But the safety part was what was really most important. So we were off the water by 1 o'clock. Actually, we headed in about 12 because we knew the storm was coming. And it did, and it came down something fierce. And we even had one guy that hit a tree, took out his lower unit, and got stuck out there. No, I never did find out what happened. I know they sent some guys out there to go get him and bring him back, but we weren't sticking around in the storm to find out. That we knew that he was taken care of. The tournament director was there, and several others of his friends and family were there to go get him. So we knew he was going to be okay. There wasn't nothing we could do. It wasn't about to go out there on my boat. But the tournament was good. Like I said, we moved up to 8th in points. So, you know, hey, we're having fun. We're being in there, and we've already qualified for nationals. So, hey, or not nationals, for regionals. And those are the baits we used. So, if you think you like what you saw today, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that button. That way you know when we post new videos. I'm Keith Allen. I hope you had learned a little bit. If you didn't, hey, I'm sorry. I'll try better. We'll try you next time. See ya.